First of all, bryophytes were amongst the first plants to colonize the dry land, and if you're looking for these bryophytes, you must look down to the earth as they are very short. Thanks to lacking of vascular tissue, xylem and phloem, which is supposed to provide this plant with support. But never mind, because of this one unique characteristic of bryophytes of being the only land plant dominated by gametophytes. This gametophyte is the one which provides bryophytes with support as well as nutrients. Apart from that, bryophytes also fond of water. It is common to find bryophytes in damp environment. However, we can also find the bryophytes on dry land as they can produce asexually by producing spores involving Antheridia and Archegonia. So stop with my introduction. Now let's move on to Yukahu's liverworts presentation.
What is liverwort? Liverwort is a non-muscular plant that do not have root, stem, or leaf. Liverwort usually grow in moist and shady habitats such as marshy ground, damp soil, parts of the tree, and deep in the wood. Liverwort divides into two groups, which is thallus liverwort with flattened body, it also known as thallus, and also leafy liverworts, which superficially resemble moises. The name of liverwort refers to the lobes of the thallus, which too resemble the lobes of the liver. The majority of liverwort species are the leafy type. Genus Marchantia, an example for the liverworts. Liverwort in genus Marchantia have thin thallus and about 30 cells thick in the center. Each branch lobe is approximately cm in length. The upper surface of the thallus is divided into diamond-shaped segments with a small pore. The lower surface of thallus have numerous hair-like extensions called rhizoid. What is the function of rhizoid? Rhizoids serve as anchors and assist in absorption of water. The special characteristic for genus Marchantia is it can reproduce both asexually and sexually. For the asexual reproduction, it depends on the gemmy-cups on the upper surface of thallus which contain gemmy. So, what is gemmy? Gemmy is a group of cells that detach from the thallus and can start a new plant. Next, sexual reproduction. The sexual reproduction depends on the male gametophytes, which is thick-headed stalk that bear Antheridia, and also depends on the female gametophyte, which is umbrella-headed stalk that bear Archegonia.
Extra information.
Antheridia, male gametophyte support sperm producing, and Archegonia, female gametophyte support egg producing. They harness the power of raindrop to project the sperm up to a meter away from Antheridia to reach Archegonia. Once the sperm have reached the opening of Archegonia, it will swim down the protective canal to reach single egg. Then fertilization takes place. Following fertilization, a tiny sporophyte composed of a foot, a short stalk, and a capsule begin growing within the Archegonia. Wind-blown spore also produced within capsule.
First of all, hornwort is under the division of Anthocerophyta. Hornwort is also called as horn liverwort. What is actually hornwort? Hornwort is actually a flowerless, spore-producing plant with the spore typically produced in a tapering horn-like or needle-like capsule which develop from a flattish fringe. Hornworts grows on damp soil or on rocks in tropical and warm temperate regions. Hornwort is divided into two parts, which are the hornwort gametophyte and the hornwort sporophyte. Hornwort gametophyte is a lobe or wrinkled greenish sheet. The thallus is typically dark green. The thallus is attached to the substrate by smooth rhizoids. Rhizoid is a superficially root-like. Rhizoid grow out from the underside of the thallus. In the hornwort thallus, there is one chloroplast per cell. The growing tips are covered by mucilage, which is a gluey substance which has a function as a food and also water storage, which produced by the surface cell. Within the thallus, there are mucilage-containing cavities, which is formed by the breakdown of many cells into mucilage. The mucilage cavities are connected to the exterior via opening for slime pore or mucilage clefts. The slime pores are on the thallus underside, and through them there is a blue-green alga nostoc, which is a type of cyanobacteria that can enter the mucilage cavities. Inside a mucilage cavity, the nostoc multiply and form a symbiotic association with the hornworts. The nostoc will provide the hornwort with nitrogen, and it will get carbohydrate in exchange. This hornwort sporophyte. Hornwort sporophyte is an elongated tapering horn-like or needle-like structure. It is often several centimeters long and has a diameter less than 2 cm. It is composed of a linear spirongium that lacks a seta, which is a spore capsule. It grows from its base, which is a basal meristem. It also possesses stomata for gas exchange, but it still depends heavily on gametophyte for carbohydrate. If the gametophyte suffers, the sporophyte growth may stop. Last but not least, we will learn about its life cycle. It started with plagated sperm from embedded gametinium, which is an organ that produces gametes, stream to the archegonium that store egg and fertilize the egg. The egg will then develop into zygote to mitosis and develop again to mitosis to form embryo. The embryo will then grow into a slender stalk called stela. Then through a meiosis, it will produce spores. One cell which is cytoelected surround the spore will propel them further. After the spore germinates, the spore will grow into a thallus, with the rhizoid. Some hornwort may produce asexually through fragmentation.
Hey, I'm going to be presenting about mosses. We have three types of mosses: peat moss, also known as sphagnum, granite moss, also known as rock moss, and true moss. Now, mosses, you can find them in a lot of places, especially in the woods, streams, bogs, and even in very dry places, for example, the desert. Now, if you can see in the desert, the color is significantly different from the ones in the woods because, well, obviously in the desert, mosses don't have enough water, so they turn brown and they look almost dead, but they're not dead. As soon as they get water, like rain or something, they will turn green again and they will continue their metabolic activities again. Okay, moving on. Before I go into the life cycle of a moss, I want to introduce you to some of the parts in mosses. Okay, mosses have two parts: the male parts and the female parts. The male part is known as the antheridia, and the female part is known as the archegonia. You can't see this with your naked eye. You can only see this with a microscope, but you can see it at the tip of the moss. Okay. Gametophytes. Phyte means plant, so gametophytes mean plant that produces gametes, and sporophyte means plants that produce spores. Now, if you see here, the sporophyte grows from the gametophyte because fertilization occurs in the gametophyte, so the stalk or the seta grows from the gametophyte. And if you see at the end of the stalk or the seta, we have this thing called a capsule. Calyptra covers the capsule, protects the capsule, and we also have another part called the operculum. It's like a cap. It covers the peristome teeth. Okay, peristome teeth responds to humidity. When it's dry, the teeth bend outward like this, opening the sporangium so that the spores can be dispersed. And when it's humid, when it's like has a lot of moisture in the air, the teeth bend inward, trapping the spores, so the spores can't be released. This is the zoomed picture of a peristome teeth. Okay, you have two layers, like it opens up and it closes. This is a protonymata. A protonymata is a structure that forms before we have the sphirophyte. Now moving on to the life cycle. I'm going to start with fertilization first. Okay, fertilization obviously involves a sperm and an egg, which are both haploid, and then they combine, they become one, forming a zygote, which is diploid. This process, fertilization, occurs in the archegonium, as I said before. The zygote then turns into an embryo. Okay, by mitosis, through mitosis, from 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, mitosis. The embryo then produces a young sporophyte. Okay, sporophyte, this one, which will grow out of the archegonium. And at the end, there is a capsule that holds haploid spores. These spores are produced through meiosis. Okay. Now, as we go here, some spores are going to be the female gametophyte, which is the archegonia, and some of them are going to grow male gametophyte, the antheridia. The male part produces sperms through mitosis. Mitosis, not meiosis, okay, mitosis. This is different from the animal life cycle, because sperms and eggs are produced by meiosis, right? But in mosses life cycle, meiosis produces spores, and then by mitosis, those spores produce sperms and eggs. Okay, and when it rains, this is what, mosses need a lot of water because they have sperms that have flagellated tails, so they need to swim to the archegonia to fertilize the egg. This is why they need a lot of water. As soon as the sperm fertilizes the egg, the process of fertilization occurs, zygote, embryos. The process keeps going on and on and on. It is a cycle. This is why it's called a cycle, because it keeps going. This is technically it. Thank you.
I had a dream last night. I was piloting a plane.
What do you know? Where to start?